Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Cyrex from Dota 2 Portal. Welcome to Dota 2 Learn to Play Episode 6. In this episode, we will be covering everything you need to know about runes. Runes are power-ups that spawn on every even minute, starting at the very beginning of the game, following minute 2, 4, and so on and so forth. There are 5 different types of runes: Illusion, Regeneration, Double Damage, Haste, and Invisibility. The rune will spawn randomly at one of 2 designated locations in the river. If a rune remains at its starting location and isn't picked up, bottled, or destroyed, another rune will not spawn at the next 2-minute mark. Runes can be captured and used later through the use of a bottle, also refilling your bottle's 3 charges. Shift-clicking on the rune will allow you to pick it out without stopping. This might make a huge difference while fighting or running away. If you coordinate with your teammate to check one rune while you check the other one, you're much more likely to get the rune for your team. Communication is the key. If you place an observer ward at the rune location, you will have knowledge of any activity in that location for the next 6 minutes. So why are the rune locations more important than other areas of the map? In games where ganking is prevalent, the river and rune locations are primary points of travel. Other than Furion and Boots of Travel wielders, an enemy will have to walk in order to gank you. A lot of times they will walk over the rune areas as it provides an entrance into the neutral areas and subsequently top and bottom lanes. Having sight of this area means you can spot ganks before they occur and be ready for them. Runes are known to set ganks in motion as they provide an undeniable advantage in many situations. If 2 more or less equal opponents are fighting on one lane, then more often than not the winner is the one that controls the runes. It is very important to try and make sure that you are that person. But keep in mind that every time you leave your lane to check on a rune, you're losing experience and potential gold. Of course, an enemy obtaining a rune can lead to your death, causing you to lose even more experience and gold. By deciding not to pick up a rune, you also deny yourself of an opportunity to do the same to your opponent. Additionally, successful ganks that come with runes can also easily win another lane. The Invisibility rune grants the user invisibility for 45 seconds, making them only visible to true sight. The effect also expires if the user performs an attack or casts a spell. This rune can be used to better position yourself during ganks. It is a lot better than the Haste rune because it leaves the enemy with no time to react to your gank. Escaping enemies. If you are running along the river and are being chased by enemies, then picking up an invisibility rune may save your life. You can also use this to dodge area of effect spells by changing direction after you turn invisible. Just remember that there is a 2-second delay before you are completely out of sight. Scouting behind enemy lines. If the enemy team has a number of members missing from the minimap, you can use this rune in order to investigate areas that you do not have sight of. Be careful not to go too close to towers, as they have true sight and you will be spotted. This is a great rune to have in a bottle for any hero that has no escape mechanisms such as blinks. If you do not have a difficult to position spell, consider saving this rune for use as an escape. If you have one of those tougher to land spells, using it to initiate is normally a better choice. Given the 2-second fade time, you can still cast spells before you go invisible even after activating the rune. One frequent usage of this technique is clicking the bottle once immediately after using the invisibility rune, thus giving yourself the rune charge you otherwise would not have had. If you try this after the fade time, you will break invisibility and not be able to get it back. The illusion rune spawns 2 illusions that look exactly like your hero. These images take 400% damage and deal 50% damage and last for 75 seconds or until they die. Baiting enemy spells. When the enemy sees you approaching them, they might use one or more of their spells on you. Remember not to send both illusions or else they will know that you have an illusion rune. Be careful not to attack or take damage with these illusions, because that will make the enemy immediately aware of your plan. You can leave one of your illusions on lane to make the enemy think that you're just casually farming, and thus not calling a miss. This will make ganking a lot easier. Damage increase. In some situations, you may want to simply take the illusions back with you on lane and help you last hit or harass the enemy. They will help you last hit, and if you send them to attack the enemy, they will be forced to tank a bit of damage or retreat, both of which are beneficial outcomes for you. Scouting enemy territory. Sending an illusion into enemy lines where you do not have vision is a safe way of gaining information about the enemy's whereabouts. Creep pull and creep manipulations. If you have decent micro and timing, you can use the illusions to pull a neutral creep camp, either allowing a double spawn or so that allied creeps will come attack. The double camp may be worthwhile if you have an area of effect spell which takes out multiple units. You can also use this technique to divert enemy creeps from the lane. The enemy creeps do not know that the illusion isn't real, so they will pursue it as if it were really you. Send the illusion behind a tower, but not through the tower's path because it will cause it to die, and drag the creeps to a different location. Storing this rune in a bottle doesn't provide the same benefits as with the other runes, but you still get to better control where and when the illusions are deployed. Illusions will carry certain effects from different heroes along with them, such as Radiance and Axis Counter Helix. Double damage increases your hero's damage by 100% for 45 seconds. It does not take into account pure damage items such as Divine Rapier, but rather your base damage and stat increasing items. While this rune excels at dealing more damage to your opponents, it can also be used against creeps, towers, Roshan, and ancients. The double damage rune can benefit almost any situation. During ganks, this should be reserved for the hero best able to get in a lot of attacks. If you give this to a hero that won't attack at all, for example heroes with channeling abilities, you are pretty much wasting it. It is probably better to give it to a ranged hero, as they will likely be able to get in additional attacks through animation cancelling and or kiting. This is a very good rune to have in a bottle, since it can surprise your opponent and turn the fight in your favor. If they accurately assess a fight with you accounting for your normal damage, but do not know of your double damage rune in a bottle, they might engage in a losing fight with you. If you wait a bit to activate the rune while it is too late for them to run away, you will be securing yourself a kill. Regeneration. The Regeneration rune heals your hero at a rate of 100 health points per second and 67 mana per second for 30 seconds, or until you start taking damage. Like the Haste and Invisibility rune, this rune can quickly turn defense into offense. For the majority of the game, this rune refills all your health points and mana, which makes this rune very valuable. If you have a spell or two that is off cooldown, and preferably isn't your ultimate, you should attempt to use it before you are hit. The regen will give you the mana back very quickly. If you are very low on health and would otherwise return to Fountain, check the nearby room to see if it is regen. assuming that it is safe to do so. Allowing you to avoid the fountain trip is worth a lot of time. This could also be used to refill your health and mana after a gank, after Roshan, killing neutral creeps, or escaping somebody. Here's where the Regeneration rune really shines. Through the use of a bottle, you can trade blows with your opponent and quickly be back at full health and mana. Particularly wise usages include entering a fight with your opponent and then hiding in the fog of war. The enemy will likely be more relaxed and perhaps will not even call MIA since you are on your way back to heal. They may even decide to stay in the lane with low health, knowing that you do not have the mana or health to fight them back. You then show up a few seconds later with full health and mana, ready to gank anyone or just to continue farming. It is important to use some of your mana before you activate the rune, as otherwise you are wasting some of the effectiveness. Your spell could have damaged the enemy and caused them to retreat or use some form of regeneration, and you will still have full mana shortly afterwards. The Haste rune grants the hero maximum movement speed for the entire 30-second duration of the rune. This rune is extremely valuable for it offers a lot of utility in many different situations. Some of these situations include positioning for non-targetable spells such as Axe's Berserker's Call. The enemy has a much shorter window to react when you come at them at maximum speed. Performing additional attacks when the enemy is running away. With Haste, you can very quickly close the gap between you and your opponent and get in additional attacks that you would not have had given your normal movement speed. Escaping precarious spots. Keep in mind that if the duration of your Haste rune expires mid-fight while you're trying more risky maneuvers, it could lead to your death. If you obtain a Haste rune in a bottle, it is often wise to save it for sticky situations that you otherwise might not be able to escape from. If you wait until you start to engage the enemy before activating, you will be able to use the entire 30-second duration during the fight. This rune is an amazing pickup for a ganker and thus should often be reserved for those heroes who can make particular good use of it. Picking up the rune just to go back to your lane and farm might save you a lot of time, but it is always more useful in the hands of someone who's ganking. On the other hand, if none of your teammates are close enough to obtain the rune, then you should still pick it up. It is always better for your team to have it than the enemy. Alright ladies and gentlemen, this was our 6th episode of the Learn to Play series and the 4th episode of the intermediate section. In our next tutorial episode, we will be covering everything you need to know about wards, and that will conclude the intermediate section of the show. My name is Cyrax, and I hope you enjoyed this video. See you soon in our next episode.